Next, we are going to move on the seventh session. So, for that, I invite Professor Riaz Ahmed, Assistant Professor, Higher Education Department, Jammu and Kashmir. He obtained his master's degree in computer applications from Indira Gandhi National Open University, and recently he has submitted his PhD work at the University of Jammu. He has teaching experience of about 15 years at higher education level and 5 years at school education level. He has published 4 research articles in referred and reputed journals, and he has attended and presented papers in 15 national and international conferences. Also, he is life member of Society for Technologically Advanced Materials, India. It's our immense pleasure to welcome Riaz Ahmed sir. Sir, please welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. First of all, I am highly thankful to the organizers for providing me this opportunity to be a part of this wonderful conferences which is going on for 2 days. We have in this session, we have 10 participants. So our first participant as per the list is Radhika Basutra. Radhika Basutra is there. Has he joined?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So she will talk on the topic, a study of opportunities and challenges of MOOCs. So now it's over to Miss Radhika Basutra.
Good afternoon, respected sir and all participants. My research topic is opportunities and challenges of MOOCs. The recent abstract, the recent progress of massive open online courses. What is massive? Massive is a huge. Massive is just a concept, not a university. MOOC is a program of learning offered by a university, open via the internet to user worldwide free of charge. MOOCs are often based on part of an existing degree, giving students an opportunity to sample the experience of studying at prestigious universities like MIT. I will discuss here introduction, local education, opportunities, challenges, and future of MOOCs. I use here keywords MOOCs, open learning resources, opportunities and challenges of university. A gigantic wave of opening has knocked the door of influential schooling in the form of MOOCs, which stand for massive open online courses. This innovative steps towards providing resourceful education has resulted some remarkable outcome. What is MOOC? Benefits of MOOCs. Anywhere, anything, anytime we can learn courses. We can get certificates from anywhere. MOOCs for global education. G. G stands for globally and local education. I give here best example. I am present paper at my home and connected with the Hull College. This is a local, and locally is a virtually I am presenting there. MOOC blended online campus. We can get certificates online without offline campus. The diagram illustrates how MOOCs offer low cost, flexible alternative for those local students who choose to study in universities in their home, given by Al Yuan. Millions of aspirants have indulged for MOOCs, and hundreds of universities are offering some form of web-based curriculum. In India, IIT Bombay and IIT Kanpur are offering good and inexpensive engineering courses. Engineering courses. These are the Coursera, Khan Academy, and Udacity and edX. These are the platforms. These are the platforms are using. They are providing us some courses. We can see showing major players of MOOCs, Chronicle of Higher Education Digital Campus, like MIT, Harvard University. These are the university providing us some courses. Coursera, Khan Academy, I also discussed above. In these, we can see here, the red part is the investors, donor, professors, alumni, board members, and others. These are the universities, they are providing us certificates. Opportunities. Opportunities. The accent of MOOCs is getting excessively famously among the understudies from various nations worldwide, and it is viewed as future unmistakable patterns in higher education today. Higher education today, MOOCs are being created to make instructions are more open and available, significantly bring down cost. Be that as it may, noteworthy inquiries and obstacles they concerning how MOOCs will shape the business. The MOOC vendor will develop over the medium term to serve less as an independent activity and more as an impetus for more extensive change in the business, including such components as how courses are delivered, how training is financed, and how learning is certified. Navneet Johal, 2013, developed of MOOCs is making a tempest, and that is making routes for extra establishment to vendor is in to as higher education as and for the private part of association needed to use this open door and to take it has their favorable positions in making and including more enhancement in web-based learning. These are numerous colleges begin their procedure of how to get into the MOOCs pattern, and they are racing to it before it is past the point of number return. Every one of the field of study is getting well known into MOOCs expectations to learn and adapt, whether it is designing an innovation or science courses that are bleeding edge of the offering, yet now humanities, administrators, and expressions course are likewise getting more prominent. See the figure second that gives a door of how MOOCs is ascending to record number inside a brief time frame. From the insights, it indicates India is the second position with 8.8% in lead alongside US. It demonstrates a substantial acknowledgement of MOOCs in India by numerous understudies. Challenges. Main challenge internet problem in J&K 4G. How we can enable to complete courses. First is no established criteria. MOOC has no established criteria. MOOC are a journally led vendor that have no set assessment criteria. These courses fluctuate anomaly and don't stick to an institutionalized, acknowledged definition or structure. Low completion rate. Low completion rate. Thousands of members enlist in MOOCs with just a modest number finishing their courses. Late proof demonstrates that exclusively 7 to 10% are completed their courses. Not 100% students are complete. They enrolled 100%, but they can't completed their courses. Varied instructor involvement. Another test in assessing MOOCs is that the part of the teacher fluctuates. In a few courses, that educator is simply a facilitator. In other, the instructor is the standard topic master. The substandard number of members additionally represent an issue for the development of an educator-understudy relationship. The sheer volume of understudies in MOOCs makes singular understudy consideration outlandish. The result of this is understudies can feel separated and engaged in the course. The part of the teacher alongside assortment of understudy encounters makes assessing showing adequacy to a great degree troublesome. Accessibility. You need a average smartphone and internet to join these courses. Accessibility, one of the advantage of MOOCs are that they are accessible online for everybody, be that as it may. This additionally raises the issue of OpenSys, as some MOOCs depend intensely on sight and sound substance. OpenSys must be contemplated recording introductions, sound addresses, web-based social networking talks. And I give here example, these type of problems, the best example to eradicate these type of problems in J&K WISE app, which has been developed by two friends from IIT Bombay, Masoodi from Kashmir and Bilal Abidi from Lucknow. The app is a 2G friendly video interface that allows you students and teachers to cut through problems of scheduling, makes teaching and assessments over the internet easier, and makes the experience as close to real classroom as possible. Future of MOOCs. So many students can enroll in these courses, and we can run these courses in our colleges and universities. SIAM is also a platform. SIAM is a program initiated by Government of India. Future is a throw of probability and chance, and probability always has a risk of happening or not happening. Some way it can be seen that MOOC as a risk that turn out to be an asset or a failure. There is no doubt that MOOCs have shown its scales of outcomes that have been hugely positively, which needs to be thoroughly evaluated and regarded and considered by faculties, administrators, and policy makers. Conclusion. The MOOCs are the future of today distance learning. They have made the education easily accessible to anyone, anywhere, anytime around the globe, and made people live life more improved by providing flexible and quality learning as it was earlier. They have made a difference by providing free courses and enable people and students world around to participate, interact, discuss, and learn from the renowned faculty of this world, thereby improving people's lives and bring out real change to communities as a whole. Moreover, there should be a cost-effective and clever management for running MOOCs and a well-adopted strategy which fits the university and institutions. The MOOCs and online education have huge potential which would help accelerate and ensure social cohesion and sustainable growth. With little efforts by the Indian government, online education can be extended to every individual. The education system managed through advanced technologies and online studies will definitely help India to nurture its growth. MOOCs could help make science and technology education accessible to masses but required to develop technical skills among students. The thirst of MOOCs is obviously burgeoning among Indians, and they have to opt MOOCs for making global classrooms a reality. For Indians who have a thirst for quality-based Western educations, MOOCs are proved exemplary in this direction. These are the references. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Radhika. From participants, any question regarding this presentation? Anyone want to ask any question? Okay. Thank you, Radhika, for your nice presentation.
Thank you, sir.
I have one request to all the participants that as per the norms of the conference, every participant has been given the 10 minutes. So try to conclude within that scheduled time. So our next participant is Mr. Adima Shehu and Mr. Musa Hassan. I request to present their talk that is on the topic mapping the risk response strategies in classified building construction related risks. Uh, who is among both? I think Mr. Musa Hassan. Are you going to present?
I'm going to present.
Okay, okay. So please.
Okay, sir. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay. And is my screen visible?
Yeah, visible.
Okay. Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. I am going to present on the mapping the risk response strategies on building construction-related risks. The construction industry is a large, dynamic, and complex sector that plays an important role in the economy of the nation. The performance of the construction industry can be improved through the application and implementation of relevant and appropriate management practices, one of which is risk management. Is my slides visible?
Yeah, visible.
Okay. Risks have been identified, quantified, classified, and analyzed qualitatively and quantitatively by several researchers. The response strategies have equally been developed, but no work has so far suggested how the response strategies should be applied to the various risk factors. Therefore, this work aimed to map out the risk response strategies on the various risk factors as identified by the researchers. The research work was carried out in Kaduna Metropolis in Nigeria, where 78 questionnaires were distributed and 68 of them were retrieved and analyzed. The risk factors were presented in the questionnaire, and the respondent rated them using the 5-point Likert scale, i.e., as the mean tends to 5, the most significant risk factor, and the more it tends to 1, the less significant the risk factor. A total of 54 risk factors were identified from literature and are used for the purpose of this study. 12 out of the 54 are found to be of the highest significance, as their project is high, is above 4. We have 12 of them ranging from rush design changes, financial failures, down to changes in law or decrees. We have 24 risk factors which are considered of significance due to their cumulative due to the cumulative mean between 3 to 4. Some of them are supplies of defective material, not coordinated design, delayed payments in contracts, down to ecological damage. The remaining 18 risk factors are found to be of lower as their cumulative mean is less than 5 on the Likert scale. Some of them are unavailable labor, material and equipment, closure, resource, defective design, down to specified wrong requirements. A correlation test was carried out, which shows that there is a relationship between the probability of occurrence of the risk factors. The mapping of the response strategies to the risk factors was carried out to the 36 risk factors of high and very high significance. Hence, 12 out of the 36 risk factors tackled by avoiding them. Risk factors are to be tackled by reducing them of significance to bearable to minimum bearable. 7 out of the remaining are to be transferred, such as insurance or subcontracting. And the remaining 4 are to. So these remaining 4 are those that are a little high significance, which can be tackled by a contingency sum or an allowance that will tackle their effect. This is a diagrammatic of the response strategies as they are being mapped. We have seen how significant risk factors works and establish the relationship between their and the level of impact. We have come to the conclusion risk factors are to be tackled by avoiding and reducing. That to be the best risk factors. The best risk response strategies. Risk management strategies should be implemented by all the project stakeholders. Future researchers should explore the techniques and project managers in managing construction risks. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Adamji. Our next participant is Mr. Durgeshwari.
Yes, sir. Madam is not feeling well. So instead of that, I am the co-author of paper. I am going to present the paper.
Okay. You are co-author. So you please.
Yeah.
Okay.
So shall I start sharing?
Yeah, you start your sharing.
So, sir, whether the PPT is visible?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Cervical
So,
cancer.
yes. So the topic for the today's presentation is cervical cancer. In this cervical cancer, what are the potential issues are there, challenges, what are the symptoms are there, and what are the applications, the treatment method that we are going to discuss. So starting with the introduction. So according to the World Health Organization, cervical cancer is the fourth most common cancer in the women's. So, and this cancer will nearly accounting for the 8% of the malignancies in the woman. And cervical cancer continues to be the most prevalent malignancy among the Indian women. As per the statistics concerned with the India, so India is accounting for nearly about 25% of these cervical cancer incidences, and in terms of the death ratio, it is nearly 26% globally. So there are several ways to screen the women for this cervical cancer, or we can say that the pre-cancers and malignancies, including the traditional and the new methodologies. So the new methodologies including the medical imaging applications. So in that we are going to take the images of the cervical cancer, and using the machine learning and deep learning algorithms, we are going to detect the cancers, and we are trying to detect the cancer in the early stages so that it will be helpful and it will increase the survival rate also. So but in this case, the major obstacle is that there is no any early detection therapy is available. So this is the main hurdle. So and for that the early diagnosis of the cervical cancer becomes a essential task. So cervical cancer occurs when the cancer begins in the cervix. The cervix attaches the vagina, that is the birth canal, to the uterus of the upper portion. And again, in this, the uterine cervical cancer is also there. That is another topic. So in this diagram, we are going to show the healthy cervix and the carcinoma, means the cancerous portion. So this is the cervix where the cancerous cells are occurs. So here you can able to see the cancerous tissues, and the cancer may also spread outside of the cervix. There are different stages of the cancers are also there. So what are the risk factors? So a risk factor is something that raises your chances of developing an illness like cancer. The risk factor for various malignancies may vary, and exposure to the intense of light. This is an example for a risk factor for the skin cancer. Smoking is linked to a variety of malignancies. However, having one or more risk factor does not guarantee that someone will get the illness. So cervical cancer is a disease that can be caused by a number of causes. So here we have provided some list. So one of the major issue is that the affection with the by human papillomavirus, that is HPV virus. Then again it is related with the history of the sexual relations, smoking. Then again weak immune system, it is one of the major conditions. Then having several full-time pregnancies is a common occurrence of that cervical cancer. And at that time of the first full-term pregnancy, the woman was rather young. So this is also one of the conditions or the risk factors. Again, some financial conditions are also there. Again, lack of the vegetables and fruits, that is the lack of the nutrition. So these are the some risk factors due to which the cervical cancer can occur. Then the symptoms are also there. So in early stages, cervical cancer show no symptom of any sign of the cancer. The patient suffering shows the usual evidence, and when the situation will become worse, then the patient will go to the doctor, and in that case the situation going to be worse, and it will become late for the treatment. So serious sexual discomfort and bleeding, it is one of the most common symptom. Then vaginal bleeding between the periods or at the time after the menopause or at irregular intervals, or discharge of some fluid from the vagina. These are the some common symptoms. Then concerning to the diagnosis and the treatment, surgery is one of the main issue. So we can go for surgery also. Then immunotherapy is there, radiotherapy is there, and chemotherapy is there. So apart from this, some test can be performed. So to see how much of the depth of that cancer is there. So by using some imaging modalities, we can take the images of that portion, and we can have the analysis. So for that purpose, we can use MRI, CT scan. So likewise, the modalities are there. With the help of that, we can do the testings. Then some stages are there. So this first is a normal stage. Then second one is a early stage. Then fourth one is a last stage. From this portion, you can able to see that the cervical cancer tissues are present in the cervix of that body part, and when they grow outside. Okay, so the cancer will spread outside of the cervix, and this will be the last stage, or we can say that the most dangerous stage. So at the concluding, we can say that cervical cancer is a condition that causes the cervical cancer, and the cells means that abnormal cells start to grow in the cervix of the body. then the main factor which causes the cervical cancer is the human papillomavirus, that is HPV infection is there. And initially there are no symptoms. This is the very bad conditions. So we cannot or patient cannot have the idea that they are suffering from any disease. And vaginal bleeding and the pelvic discomfort are the symptoms as well as sign of the cervical cancer. And it is very necessary that the cervical cancer should be detected in the early stages so that the survival rate can be increased. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
References that we have used. Thank you.
Okay. Any question from participants? So, thank you very much for nice presentation. Then our next participant is Mr. Pratik Shantilal Patil. Mr. Pratik Patil, have you joined? Okay, he's there. So he will talk on the topic bearing wave resistance pictorial secret code validation conceived for web supporting functions. So please, it's over to you, Mr. Pratik Patil.
Yes. Am I audible to you, sir?
Yeah, you are audible and complete within 10 minutes.
Let my screen.
Okay.
Is my screen is visible to you?
No.
Is it visible to you?
Yeah, now it's visible.
Okay.
You continue.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thanks for giving me opportunity to present the paper over here. Okay. My name is Pratik Patel, working as an assistant professor in National Forensic Sciences University, Gandhinagar. For today's presentations, my topic is bearing a wave resistance pictorial secret code validations convinced for the web supporting functions. I'm pursuing my PhD from Sabarmati University, and my guide is Dr. Mukta Agrawal, and my co-guide is Dr. Ashish Chaturvedi. So let me start my presentations. See, the abstract is like that from the time when the plan and to improve the primary pictorial validation spread throughout the blunder around the 1996. Various investigates have been laid to the space to be utilized the various situations, particularly at the internet. Out of it, one significant spark is the image paradigm, which is shown at the studies indicate that photos and images give a elevated memorability rather than the text supporting validation. Be that as it may, a pictorial validation yet confronted from the certain difficulties. Go for the introductions. That the pictorial supporting validation is a one kind of supporting validation.
Sorry for interruption. Your screen is not, the presentation not moving. First.
Okay, let me tell. Okay.
Your slide is not moving.
Yeah.
No issue.
Now it's okay.
I'm going to share my entire screen, so it is a technical issue.
Yeah, okay.
Now is it okay?
No. Yeah, now it's okay.
Now it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is pictorial or what is pictorial supporting validation? It is one kind of information supporting validation in which utilize the pictures and image to help the client in producing more powerful secret code. Because of the image prevalence, a photo is dually encoded and thus is benefited than the word, while the words simply are encoded verbally. photos produce together a verbal code and a picture code, since the members are bound to holding the name of the photos and the abbreviation word. Having the two sorts of code are labeled to the photos that permit more prominent possibilities of the recover while performing the memory task. What more exclamatory is psychological science explore lead has shown that the people's solid memory capacities of the photos. The taste of client producing powerless guessable secret code in the text supporting validations been directly to the respect to the pictorial supporting validation. The idea of pictorial supporting validations is making the degree of reliability whereby the client don't really know the arrangement of the secret code character produced yet, and an example utilize the creating the secret code. The pictorial supporting validation code is a sort of information supporting validation that utilize the photos in checking the personality of the client. It is arranged by the large into the accomplishing acknowledgement support, evaluating the support, and prompt evaluated strategies. In light of the different procedures, the progressions for the both enrollment and the validation shift. First method is I want to tell you related to the pictorial supporting validation is the remember supporting technique. In this technique, this include the acknowledgement and the choice of array, generally a small part of fundamental arrangement for the pre-chosen object from the arrangement of article. And the method and the technique name is, I'm just explaining you the color login. This method can become under the remembering supporting technique. If I'm talking about coloring, things, what is say that it's nowadays pinch doodle, the speed utilized at the doodle drawing like a determined as well as the shape. The pictorial validation process give a method to the client to recollect the secret doodles pinch, yet it was not sent to the occasionally client to the remember to the secret where they were pinch, and furthermore it will be general by the powerless against the bearing wave. The next one is curved remanence approaches. If I'm talking about curved remanence approaches, it is a curved remanence assists client by the giving a prompt piece of information to empower the client evaluate from the memory as well as the repeat data that was made during the enlistment. Compiling the next are the few models are like a passbolt. If I'm talking about passbolt, okay, it is generated by the grep L in 2012. Passbolt is a pictorial one time secret code which utilize to curve the reminiscence approaches. The validations play out a ink bolt test, a mental assessment to get the client remarkable of the pictures that describe the passport validation. One enlistment, a given arrangement to the ink bolt photos are shown in your figure. You can see that. મમ્મી અર્જન્ટ નથી, હું કામમાં છું, 10 મિનિટમાં ફોન કરું. સર હોલ્ડ ફોર સર. Is my screen is visible to you guys, sir? Is my screen is visible to you? Hello, am I audible to you?
Yes, audible.
Yeah, you are audible, and come to concluding parts also.
Yeah, I will.
Okay. Come to concluding part.
Okay. See, The hybrid approach, these are some approaches which we are using for the pictorial secret codes. Okay, and now the thing is that proposed convinces that this is planned to utilize the array, shaded line, and the sections which may be help the client to recognize their picked cell, and the interface configure the found from the evaluated the pictorial structure being utilized. Okay, in these you can see that there is a row, column, cell, and inserting value into the cell. So I just want to tell you what is the use of row and column. Okay, these are the display. You can see the figure. The little is the generate with the 13 sections and 9 lines. From this line, the segments are 6 segments, and the 4 line that are allocated. Interesting, the shadings and the qualities. The qualities are forever allocate the line and the sections. The idea of these intersecting line segments are well. The convergence is chosen from the word longitude and the scope. Those who are crossing the point externally, and it is utilized to provide the coordinate. Each crossing point of the fluid has lies in sections is remarkable, and it is motivation to be helped with the finding the specific cell in the network. And I just want to say that the future proposed kernels are bearing the riding oppositions in this. Firstly, during the way of toward the contributing the peak value into the pixel, each and every other words in the influence to move at the same time as per the development of the mouse. Also during the each validation, the headlines and the sections are arbitrary position, making the plan dynamically. And second one is advance of the capacity limit. The utilization of HTML, CSS, and the JavaScript make a unique table where the headlines and the segments are reworked during the validations. And next one is help with the discovering object, that the shades, lines, and the sections give help to the client to find out the pick cell for the contribution the pick pair of the item. Maybe then the looking throughout the every cell, the client is centered around that picked huge line and the section. In conclusion, from the diverse the plan survey, there has not been ideal pictorial valuation consideration for all situations. Each pictorial valuation has its advantages and disadvantages reasonable for the explicit situation. Prior is to using any pictorial plan, a legitimate investigation out to the director decided the base plan that will be suitable. And this is my references. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Here I completed my presentation.
Okay, any questions from participant side?
Thank you, Mr. Patel. I think no question from participants. So our next participant is Miss Bhumika Kantilal.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, my request is all the participants that please complete your presentation within a time, because we have to complete one more session and to conclude the conference. So time constraint is there. So I request all to complete in a short duration of time. Okay.
Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, audible.
Is it screen visible?
Yeah, visible.
Thank you, sir.
Try to conclude within 8 minutes.
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, all respected faculties and all other participants. Myself, Bhumika Charnanan, working as an assistant professor in Prabhu BCA College, Surat, Gujarat, and pursuing my PhD from Sabarmati University, Ahmedabad. And my guide is Dr. Ashish Chaturvedi from same university, Sabarmati University, Ahmedabad. And my today's research topic is on performance analysis of various cryptographic algorithms for images. Am I audible, sir? May I continue?
Yeah, continue.
Okay. These are my outlines, abstractions, introductions, methodologies, and results of different images using different algorithms, and conclusions and references which I used. My abstractions, the first, my most important issue is that during exchanging of our data, suppose I am using sending some message through internet also, there is no security. So for security purpose, main cryptographic algorithms play a very important role to secure your data. So these algorithms are already available, and for improvement, security, to improve our security of data by making data unreadable, only to authenticate users can read data after decryptions using the keys to secure our data. All algorithms performs the same work, but it consumes different volumes of computing properties such as time of CPU, memory utilization, throughput time, encryption and decryption time, etc. Also, these different algorithms uses a various size of keys, a size of block and cipher type. So we need to compare the cryptographic algorithms to choose the best one to secure our data. In this my paper, evaluation of both block cipher, that is AES, DES, 3DES, Blofeld algorithms, as well as a stream cipher also I have used, that is a SALSA 20, and cryptographic algorithms is shown by taking different size of images file. Here I have taken 5 different size images files to compare these 5 algorithms, and this comparison of different algorithms has been conducted to evaluate parameters such as their encryption and decryption time, throughput time, memory utilization, scalability, and ratio. Through these parameters, I have taken these images, and these are the just descriptions that what is the meaning of encryption. Encryptions means coding, and decoding means decoding. By this technique, we can protect our information through transmissions. So only authorized persons or users can read with their permissions, which is there allowed to them. And if data goes to the unauthorized user, there can be chance to read and misuse it. So our algorithms will fetch their permissions and recognize it. That's why we translate our data into unreadable form by encryption, and in decryptions it will be convert into a readable form. In other words, we can say that by encryption, plain text will be converted into cipher text. And then after decryption, the cipher text will be converted again into plain text. So only authorized users are allowed to read the original message. For example, suppose the original message is ABCD, and after encryption it will be 1 2 3 4. So if someone got the message through transmissions, they will got 1 2 3 4, not the original message that is ABCD. So here work of encryption and decryptions plays main. Methodologies I have used here, that is Blowfish, AES, DES, triple DS, ALSA algorithms for encoding and decoding. And on my laptop, that is having these configurations details, and these are the algorithms I have used. Using in this paper, I have created one Python programming program to develop it, and program consists of 3 phases. First one is key generation, second encryption, third one is decryption. It also checks encryption and decryption time, as well as memory utilizations during encryption and decryptions. It's a scalability algorithm along with throughput and encryption ratio of all algorithms. This Python program took an individual inputs for 5 different size images. Here I have taken 5 images. First one is of 256 around KB, second is 2.1 and above. These all are having JPG format. The time of encryption and decryption memory, these are parameters I have already discussed. And for example, first this is the 5 algorithms on which this key size will be counted, block size will be counted, and these are the types and rounds are included here. Next one is first result. For example, suppose I am using 256 KB size image. These are the results of this image. For example, suppose I am using AES algorithm, then these are the parameters output. For example, its encryption time will be 0.01 something. There will be no data loss in any algorithms here, right? Suppose I am using SALSA 20, right? So that is, we already know that that is a cyber stream cipher, and there is no data loss here also, and throughput time is 64. These are the parameters and outputs of 5 images. The second images I have taken 2.1 MB, third one is 5.25 MB, and last one is of 10.53 3 MB size, and this is 18.38. And these are the outcomes. For example, suppose I am taking a last image that is 18.13 MB JPG size. Here in encryption time, AES takes less time compared to Salsa 20, Blowfish, DES, and last one is triple DS. And these are the preferences I have given. For example, it's a decryption time. In decryption time, AES take less time. Then say Salsa takes less time compared to Blowfish. And these are memory utilizations outcomes. Memory utilization, decryption and encryption both times are here. Throughput times here, right? And these are my concluding conclusions. According to the result of these 5 images with 5 algorithms, uh, uh, in encryption, AES algorithm takes least time, then the less time consuming algorithm is Salsa 20. But Salsa 20 is a stream cipher. So according to the cipher text, Blowfish is second less time taking algorithm in block cipher. We can conclude that the in memory utilization, the best algorithm is Blowfish in both encryption as well as decryption. Then after 3 DES comes. According to the throughput of above result, the fastest algorithm is AES algorithm, then followed by Salsa 20. But when we consider according to the block cipher, Blowfish will stand after AES in less time consuming algorithm. And these are my references which I have referred. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. From participant, any question?
Is there any question?
Any question from participants? Okay. Now next participant is Isha Gupta.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Isha Gupta is there? Isha Gupta? No. Okay.
Sir, she is presenting. She is available.
Yeah. Isha Gupta, she will present his talk on the topic study of sequential and classical characteristics of exponentiated inverted Weibull distribution. Unmute yourself, Dr. Isha.
Isha ma'am, please unmute yourself.
Yes, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. Please continue.
Is my screen visible?
Yeah, please continue.
A very good afternoon to all of you. My name is Dr.
And one request is that complete within 8 minutes.
Okay, sir, no issue.
Okay, thank you.
A very good afternoon to all of you. My name is Dr. Isha Gupta, and the title of the paper is Study of Sequential and Classical Characteristics of Exponentiated Inverted Weibull Distribution. Now, let us start with the introduction. What is classical and sequential estimation? In classical theory, what we do, we just draw a random sample of fixed size from the population under study and then estimate the parameter of interest with the help of that sample. But in sequential analysis, the sample size is not fixed or defined in advance. Here, the observations would not have taken all at a time, but in 2 or 3 stages. So we take some observations and test the hypothesis, and according to a predefined stopping rule, we stopped taking observations. The basic objective of sequential procedure initially was avoidance of oversampling. Later, it was observed that many inferential problems that cannot be solved with the help of fixed sample size procedure can easily be tackled with the help of sequential and multi-stage procedures. In this paper, I have taken exponentiated inverted Weibull distribution, which is a generalization to inverted Weibull distribution through adding a shape parameter by exponentiation to distribution function. The PDF of exponentiated inverted Weibull distribution is given by equation number 1. If we put theta equals to 1, we get standard inverted Weibull distribution, and for beta equals to 1, we get exponentiated inverted Weibull distribution. So we can say that exponentiated inverted Weibull distribution is a generalization to exponential distribution, gamma distribution, and Weibull distribution, so has wide applicability in reliability theory. In this paper, we consider two main problems. First is sequential characteristics, that is sequential probability ratio test, operatic characteristic function, average sample number of the unknown shape parameter, and classical estimators of the unknown shape parameter. Now, first is sequential probability ratio test. To construct sequential probability ratio test, what we have to do, we have to draw a sequence of random variable from exponentiated inverted Weibull distribution, and here we assume that the shape parameter theta is unknown and beta is known. Now we draw a hypothesis. Now we frame a hypothesis h naught theta equals to theta naught against the alternative theta equals to theta 1 with the condition that theta 1 is greater than theta naught. Now we define a function z which is log of f of x theta 1 upon f of x theta naught, where f of x theta 1 is the PDF of exponentiated inverted Weibull distribution under the alternative hypothesis, and f of x theta naught is the PDF under null hypothesis. Then we choose two numbers a and b whose values are given by a equals to 1 minus beta star upon alpha and b equals to beta star upon 1 minus alpha, where alpha and beta star are the strengths of SPRT, and they are assumed to be known when we do this in a real life situation. Now at n stage, we accept h naught if summation zi is less than equal to log b, and reject h naught if summation zi is greater than equal to log a. Otherwise, we continue to take the next n plus 1 observation. Next is operating characteristic function. Now, what is operating characteristic function? This is the probability of accepting the null hypothesis, since acceptance or rejection of any hypothesis depend upon the distribution function. So likewise, OC also depends upon the unknown parameter theta and is denoted by L theta. Its formula is a raised to power h theta minus 1 upon a raised to power h theta minus b raised to power h theta, where h theta is the non-zero solution of expected value of e raised to power h theta z equals to 1. After solving these equations, we get the value of h theta. Now what we do, we put the value of theta, we put different values of theta and obtain the value of h theta. And then with the help of these h thetas, we obtain L thetas, which are the required operating characteristic function. Next is average sample number. Average sample number is the mean value of the sample number required to reach a terminal decision. That is, whether we accept H0 or we accept H1 or we discontinue sampling. A good sequential test is that where the average sample number is fairly small. This is the formula of average sample number, which is given by expected value of n given theta, which is L theta log B plus 1 minus L theta log A upon expected Z. After putting the value of L theta and 1 minus L theta and expected Z, we obtain the average sample number. Here in this paper, we have computed some values of OC function and ASN function when null hypothesis theta naught equals to 5 and theta 1 equals to 10 and beta equals to 1.5. The results are presented in table 1. In table 1, we can see that for different values of theta, the values of L theta, which is operating characteristic function, and En, that is average sample number. This is the graph of OC function. This graph shows that as we increase the value of theta, the value of L theta, which is operating characteristic function, it decreases, and after a certain point, it becomes constant. This is the graph of ASN function, which shows as the value of theta increases, the value of average sample number, this starts declining and declining. Next is classical characteristics of unknown shape parameter theta. First is unbiasedness. To obtain the unbiased estimator, we obtain a sequence of random variable from exponentiated inverted Weibull distribution and calculate the value of expected xi, and then we find expected x bar From this equation, we can say x bar upon gamma 1 minus 1 by beta is unbiased estimator of theta raised to power 1 by beta. Next is consistent estimator. Since x bar upon gamma 1 minus 1 by beta is unbiased estimator, and we have a standard theorem which says that, which is a sufficient condition for consistent estimator, which says that if x is unbiased estimator of theta and variance of x approaches to 0 for indefinitely large values of n, then x is also consistent estimator. By using that theorem, we can say that x bar upon gamma 1 minus 1 by beta is consistent estimator of theta raised to power 1 by beta. So here is the conclusion. In this paper, we have studied sequential probability ratio test, operating characteristic function, average sample number, and compute the value of OC and ASN function for different values of theta, and different classical estimators are derived. These are the few references. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Isha. Any question from participants? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Isha.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. Now our next participant is yes, Dr. Priyanka Ganju. Dr. Priyanka. Dr. Priyanka is there? Dr. Priyanka, if you are there, kindly unmute yourself and start your presentation.
Sir, I think she is not present here.
Okay. Then Dr. Rustam Abbas, are you there?
Yes, sir, he's present here.
Okay. Dr. Rustam, please present your talk. Dr. Rustam will present on the topic approximate solution of fractional relaxation.
Sir, I am not able to share my document. Please make me host first.
No, you can present. Just try it.
Share your screen. Rustam sir, share your screen.
Open your PDF or open your slides, then share.
I have already opened my screen. 1 minute.
Open your presentation first.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Okay, yeah.
Sir, is it visible?
Yeah, visible.
Good afternoon, sir. My topic is approximate solution of fractional oscillation relaxation equation using Shannon wavelet operational matrix method. Myself, Rustam Abbas, Assistant Professor in Department of Mathematical Sciences, BGSP University, Rajouri. Today presentation is based on recently my publication. The publication is approximation solution of fractional differential equation using Shannon wavelet operational matrix method. It is published in International Journal of Computing Science and Mathematics in 2021. And here is my outline of presentation. First one is abstract, second one is introduction, third one is preliminaries of fractional calculus, fourth one is Shannon wavelet and its properties, fifth one is operational matrix of fractional order integration, Sixth one is numerical experiment and discussion. First one is abstract. The aim of this talk is to show an effective wavelet method to solve fractional differential equation. Following are the parameters used for this purpose. First of all, we will introduce to fractional calculus and motivation. Why we choose this subject, fractional calculation. Second one is definition of fractional calculus. It includes different definitions of fractional calculus. Third one is definitions of Shannon scaling function and Shannon wavelets. Next one is operational metrics of fractional order integration. And last one is application of this proposed technique. Whatever the technique we are using at here, in last we will apply on some differential equation. Introduction. The origin of this fractional calculus can be traced back to the end of 17th century, shortly after the development of classical calculus. In fact, recent advances of fractional calculus are dominated by modern example of applications in differential and integral equation, plasma physics, image and signal processing, fluid mechanics, mathematical biology, electrochemistry, and even finance and social sciences. In recent years, several simple and accurate methods based on orthogonal basic function have been successfully used to approximate the solution of ordinary differential equation, partial differential equation, integral equation, integral differential equation of arbitrary order. In these orthogonal basis functions, the most frequently used orthogonal functions are like sine, cosine functions, Walsh functions, Bloch-Plus function, B-spline functions, Legendre function, Chebyshev function, and many more. In recent addition to these orthogonal functions are the wavelet function, which is our main topic. And what is it? It is mathematical functions that decompose data into different frequency components, after which each component is studied with a resolution matched to its scale. And the term resolution is related to multi-resolution analysis, which is another subject. It is a relatively new area in mathematical research. It has numerous applications in approximating and has been extensively used in the context of numerical approximation in the relevant literature during the last 2 decades. By the way, mathematicians have employed various types of wavelet methods like Haar wavelet method, Legendre wavelet method, Chebyshev wavelet method, Lagore wavelet method, Dobschi wavelet methods, and many more methods are available in the literature from last 2 decades. I'm motivated by the work of Neori and Shivanshi and need to extend method for resolving boundary conditions in a new and natural direction because there are some drawbacks in the methods of Neori and Shivanshi that has been already on Shannon wavelet approximation. So be aware of these drawbacks. We derive a new Shannon wavelet collocation method, operation matrix method of fractional order integration, and apply it to solve fractional order differential equation, initial or boundary value problem. The fractional derivative can be defined in many forms such as Riemann-Leibniz derivative. It is the new definition in fractional calculus. Capito derivative and many more are also new definitions in the fractional derivative. Which are required for establishing our result in the proposed proceeding sections. When we will apply these fractional derivatives on our examples or applications, then we will use these Riemann-Leibniz derivatives and Capito derivatives. And here it is first definition, which is definition 2.1, the Riemann-Leibniz fractional integration operator of alpha greater than 0 of a function f of t is defined as like this. It is our first equation. And if you will see that these below 3 points, j raised to power alpha, j raised to power beta into f of t equal to j raised to power alpha plus beta f of t, where alpha, beta greater than 0. And these are the three relations which we will use in our application part. Second definition is definition 2.2. The capital derivative is also denoted by d raised to power alpha. As you are looking at the above definition, where j alpha is was the notation, and in this definition, capital fractional derivative d alpha is also using to represent this. And this equation second is representing capital fractional derivative, and similar to integer order differentiation, capital fractional derivative is a linear operator like a classical derivative. And here is the relation between these above definitions, the definition 1.1 and 2.2, and these are the three relations in between these two definitions. And here is Shannon wavelet. As you are aware about the wavelets, that there are many wavelets, Haar wavelet, legendary wavelets. Like that, there is a Shannon wavelet. It is based on the scaling function. Basically, if you will pick the Haar wavelet, then there is also two part. One is scaling function and Haar scaling function, and another is Haar wavelet. And like that, here is Shannon wavelet, and first we will discuss Shannon scaling function. It is the graphical representation of Shannon scaling function, and it is Shannon wavelet, and here it is graphical representation of Shannon wavelet. And theorem 3.1 shows the relation between the two components of Shannon wavelet, which is represented by Kronecker delta. And here is another definition which is also similar to this Shannon wavelet. And here is the approximation. Theorem 3.3 shows the approximation of Shannon wavelet. How we can approximate a function which belonging from L1R intersection L2R can be expressed as a Shannon wavelet. And it is function approximation. Here j equal to 0, k equal to 0, and here j, k, and m are three parameters used in approximation of a function in Shannon wavelet. Here is function approximation c, and psi t. C is the coefficient and psi t is the Shannon wavelet. And here is tablically shown that this psi t, and it is numerical values psi 4 cross 4, and corresponding to this with the approximation represented by the matrix form like this. Now operational matrix of fractional order integration. Why we are using operational matrix of the fractional order integration? Because it gives us a good result, and calculation is too much easy because of this, so that we are using this integration, and it is totally used by mathematical software like MATLAB, Maple, and I am using MATLAB mostly to do this task. And here is f alpha. Here is f alpha equation number 14. This is also based on the MATLAB programming, and it is the justification and how to calculate the coefficient of this approximation. And it is the p raised to power 1.9 4 cross 4. It is the matrix generated by the operational matrix of integration. And in last application of Shannon wavelet method, here above we have discussed the Shannon wavelet method. Now we apply this Shannon wavelet method into some fractional order differential equation. And how we calculate the error? Basically, what is the error? Error is the term which measures the difference of the two values. One is approximate, another one is exact. Here you will see that EMT equal to mod of yt minus YMT. Here yt is the exact solution and YMT is the approximate solution. Here I have taken one example of fractional order differential equation. Here you are looking at this d alpha y of t. What is alpha? Alpha is the fractional value, whether it is 1/2 and alpha belonging from 0 and 2. It can also be 1. If alpha equal to 1, then it will become arbitrary order like 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you use alpha equal to 1/2 in fractional sense, then you will say that this is a fractional differential equation. And like as we discussed above the method, Shannon-Wavelet method, with the same strategy, we will apply the proposed method on this equation. And in last, we have calculate the exact value. Here is the t value 0.1, 0.2 up to 0.9, and here is the exact value from 0.723578 to 1.442021. It is the exact value. It is given with the fractional differential equation. And here you are seeing that a Shannon-Wavelet collocation method for the resolution m equal to 2, Shannon-Wavelet collocation method for the resolution m equal to 3, and this is another method, Haar-Wavelet method. Why we have put at here, so that we are comparing. So we are comparing our Shannon-Wavelet collocation method to Haar-Wavelet collocation method, and you see that Shannon-Wavelet collocation method is too much superior than Haar-Wavelet collocation method. And these are the two tables. Basically, these table depends on the value of alpha. Here, if you will see that alpha equal to 0.5, and the second table based on alpha equal to 1, third table based on alpha equal to 1.5, and fourth table based on alpha equal to 2. And here you can see that these based on these four tables, we have make the graph of these four tables, and you are looking that exact value is same as Shannon-Wavelet collocation method. And here are some reference that I have used in this paper.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rustam Abbas. Any question from the participants?
Yeah, one question from my side.
Okay.
Dr. Rustam, you have mentioned that a lot of wavelet methods are there. Then why you opt Shannon method? Why not any other? Why you choose Shannon wavelet? Why not any other wavelet?
Yes. Because if I am using another method, then in last, like you see that here is a graph. Here is the first graph. Here is the first graph. Haar-Wavelet collocation method at 2.727 reference number. And when we calculate the convergence rate of the method on these examples, and when we compare Shannon-Wavelet collocation method to Haar-Wavelet collocation method, then Shannon-Wavelet collocation method has more convergence rate as compared to other wavelet collocation method. So that we have used this Shannon-Wavelet collocation method.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rustam, for a nice presentation. Our next participant is Kirandeep Kaur.
Thank you, sir.
Kirandeep Kaur is here.
Sir, she is not present.
Okay, so I think this session is over. So all the participant has presented nicely, and they have presented nice talks, and all topics were very useful. So thank you very much for the organizers for providing this opportunity to me be a part of this session. So thank you very much, organizers.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Riaz Ahmed, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you for your valuable suggestions.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.